What if one of the biggest assumptions about aging isn't always true? We're often told that having a partner in later life is the key to happiness, comfort, and emotional security. But for some people, the reality feels very different. Instead of freedom, they feel pressure. Instead of peace, they feel responsibility. And instead of ease, they feel emotional weight they didn't expect. So the real question is not, should you be alone or with someone? It's this: does your relationship truly support the life you want in your later years, or slowly take from it? Welcome back to the channel. If you're interested in honest, reflective conversations about life, aging, relationships, and personal freedom, you're in the right place. Today's topic isn't about telling anyone what they should or shouldn't do. It's about exploring a side of aging that's rarely talked about openly: the emotional, practical, and personal realities of long-term relationships later in life. We'll go through 16 important reflections that can help you think more clearly about what really matters as you grow older: peace, independence, health, and emotional well-being. Let's get into it. 1. The shift in priorities with age. As people grow older, priorities naturally change. What once felt exciting, constant activity, social obligations, and compromise may start to feel less important than peace, routine, and emotional stability. This shift can sometimes create tension in relationships, where both partners evolve differently over time, leading to mismatched expectations in daily life. 2. The reality of constant compromise. Relationships naturally involve compromise, but in later life, the emotional energy required to constantly negotiate small decisions can feel heavier. Things like daily routines, lifestyle habits, and personal preferences may require ongoing adjustment, which some individuals find increasingly draining as they prioritize calm and simplicity. 3. Emotional fatigue from long-term dynamics. After decades of being in a relationship, emotional patterns become deeply established. While this can create comfort, it can also lead to emotional fatigue for some people who feel they are still managing conversations, expectations, and sensitivities instead of fully resting in their personal space. 4. Changing definitions of independence. Independence in older age is not just about living alone, it's about feeling free in your decisions. Some people discover that even in loving relationships, their choices are influenced by coordination, compromise, or shared planning, which can feel limiting if personal freedom becomes a higher priority. 5. The hidden weight of routine coordination. Daily life in a relationship often involves constant coordination: meals, schedules, activities, and appointments. While this structure can be helpful, it can also reduce spontaneity. For some older adults, the lack of complete flexibility becomes noticeable only later in life. 6. Emotional responsibility for a partner's well-being. Being in a long-term relationship often means emotionally supporting another person through challenges. While this is part of care and love, it can also become mentally demanding, especially when both individuals are aging and facing their own personal struggles. 7. The caregiver role that often develops. In many long-term relationships, one partner may eventually take on a caregiving role if the other experiences health changes. This role can be deeply meaningful, but it can also bring physical and emotional strain that affects the caregiver's own well-being and energy levels. 8. Financial interdependence and its complexity. Later life relationships can involve shared finances, medical costs, and lifestyle adjustments. While financial cooperation can be beneficial, it can also create stress if one partner becomes more financially dependent or if unexpected expenses affect long-term stability. 9. Reduced personal time and space. Even in healthy relationships, personal time may naturally decrease. Sharing space means adjusting habits, routines, and environments. For some individuals, especially later in life, personal space becomes more valuable than shared routines. 10. Emotional decision-making becomes shared. From health decisions to daily choices, many aspects of life become collaborative in a relationship. While this can be supportive, it can also feel overwhelming for individuals who prefer to make decisions independently without discussion or compromise. 11. The evolution of communication styles. Over time, communication in long-term relationships can become routine or predictable. Some people feel understood, while others may feel misunderstood or unheard, especially if emotional needs evolve differently with age. 12. The experience of solitude versus loneliness. There is an important difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Some individuals discover that solitude brings clarity, calm, and emotional balance. Others may find loneliness challenging. The experience varies deeply depending on personality, life history, and emotional needs. 13. Personal identity. Outside of the relationship. After many years in a shared life, some people begin to reflect on their personal identity outside of the relationship. They may rediscover hobbies, interests, and thoughts that were previously adjusted or paused for the sake of partnership. 14. Redefining what a good life means in later years. Ultimately, the most important reflection is this: there is no universal formula for happiness in aging. For some, companionship is the greatest source of comfort. For others, independence, simplicity, and personal peace become the top priorities. The key is not choosing one path over another, but understanding what genuinely supports your well-being in this stage of life. 15. The silent gap in emotional needs over time. One of the most overlooked changes in long-term relationships is how emotional needs slowly evolve in different directions. In early years, both partners may share similar goals: building a home, raising a family, or achieving stability together. But as time passes, emotional priorities can shift in subtle but significant ways. One person may begin to value calm, reflection, and routine, while the other may still seek more interaction, stimulation, or social engagement. This difference doesn't always create conflict in obvious ways. In fact, many couples continue functioning well on the surface. But internally, one or both partners may begin to feel emotionally misaligned. Conversations may become more practical than meaningful, and shared time may feel less emotionally fulfilling than before. Over time, this gap can lead to a quiet sense of emotional distance, not because love is gone, but because emotional needs are no longer moving at the same pace. In later life, this can become more noticeable as people have more time to reflect on how they actually feel in their daily lives. 16. The challenge of long-term habitual roles. In many relationships, roles naturally develop over time. One person may become the decision-maker in finances. Another may handle household structure, while emotional support roles are divided in ways that once felt natural. However, as people age, these long-standing roles can begin to feel rigid or limiting. What once felt like teamwork can start to feel like expectation. A person may realize they have been doing the same emotional, practical, or organizational role for decades without much change or flexibility. Even if the relationship is stable, the lack of role evolution can create a quiet sense of repetition or stagnation. This is not necessarily about dissatisfaction with the partner, but more about the human need for growth and change. In later life, when individuals reflect more deeply on their identity and personal freedom, they may start questioning whether their long-held role still reflects who they are today, or simply who they became out of habit over time. At the end of the day, aging is about finding what brings you real peace, not what others expect from you. For some, that is companionship. For others, it is independence and space to live freely. There is no single right answer, only what feels right for your life at this stage. Thanks for watching. If this made you reflect, leave a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.